Hi, everybody. Welcome to the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show where we watch old 16 millimeter films. And we are not in the archive today because we are traveling to Kentucky. We are helping the Apple Shop Archive, which is an archive dedicated to preserving Appalachian culture, who experienced a tragedy last year. They had a flood, and we are going to go help them figure out how to reclaim some of the materials that were all muddy or moldy. We've been helping them off and on for the last year, and we decided we would go and teach them how to do it so they could do it themselves, so they didn't have to keep sending us stuff. So that's what we're doing. In honor of that, we're going to be in coal mining country, so I figured we should show films about coal that we have in our collection. So we're going to start off first with a German silent film called The Manufacture of Coke, which is basically how they process coal into a fuel that heats a certain way for steel manufacturing. Then we're going to watch the electric story Coal, which talks about coal in producing electricity in the United States. Then Coal Miner, which is kind of a look at a coal miner and the community that they live in. And then we're going to watch a safety film made by MESA, which is the Mine Engineering Safety, or MESHA. Anyways, it's underground blasting, and it talks about some of the safety concerns associated with detonating explosives underground. And it's dangerous, super dangerous. So yeah, thanks for watching today. We'll be back again live soon. And in the meantime, if you like what you're seeing, please hit the thumbs up or the like button. You can also support us with the super thanks option on the YouTube chat. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. Another way is also just to watch other videos that we have on the YouTube channel, because we get a little bit of ad revenue every time you watch that. I know the ads are annoying, but they actually are helping pay a storage rent. So we have 4 storage units now, and we're working towards something. We don't have that in the future, but all of that unfortunately costs money. And these are great ways you can support us. And at the very least, you can just share what we're doing. But we appreciate your eyeballs and your support. So we will see you soon. Take care.
Kowalski, I don't know what this business is you're giving me. Today's Week is not a comic book. You want to give this story to a sports writer and a fashion photographer? That's nutty.
Calm down, Henry. Look, I want to give Eddie a chance to establish himself on this magazine. He's not making it as a sports writer, but I think he's got talent we haven't seen yet.
Oh, look, Kowalski, he's a nice kid.
And as for Phoenicia, I think she'll surprise you.
But this Cole piece is the first of a very important series, and they don't have any experience.
Oh, give him another chance, will you? I'll help.
Okay. But it's their last chance with Today's Week, and if they blow it, it falls in your lap.
I'm still printing. What is it?
Henry wants to see what his office is new.
Me?
Phoenicia Evans.
A big story that no one's really done a job on up till now. Where we're going to get the electric power we'll need 10, 20 years from now.
All I know about electricity is when you flip the switch, the lights go on.
Oh, come on, Eddie. You're a journalist. Go and find out. Go upstairs and see Guy and research.
What makes this story worth the cover in Today's Week magazine?
Well, I'll tell you. By the end of the century, more than half of our energy will be electric. And if it isn't produced cleanly, we could suffocate in our own smog.
Okay, so what's our peg?
Coal. Until this morning, I've never seen a real piece of coal.
I have the feeling I better not goof this one.
We better not goof it.
I know, this is the first time we're working together.
Well, let's get started.
What do you know about Guy?
Why coal?
I wondered the same thing when Henry asked us to put together a briefing. But I started digging into it, and it does make sense. Take a look at this little slideshow I put together for Henry. It'll put the situation a little more in focus for you. New York City, 100 years ago. Edison built a commercial generating plant. And coal is just about the only fuel. They also begin to spin generators with water power. You know, of course, that falling water is still the cheapest way to generate electricity. Anyway, after the Second World War, the demand for electric power is enormous. And so much coal is being burned that some cities are getting sooty. At the same time, large supplies of cheap natural gas and oil are found. Atomic power is coming along then, too. Some people are predicting that eventually atomic power will be too cheap to meter. Well, atomic power is important today, but it's a long way from being free. The price of gas and oil keeps rising, too. And that oil is badly needed for other uses. So, industry is turning back to coal again. Because we have enough of it to last for at least 100 years, and we know how to use it. We don't have to develop a totally new technology.
Well, what about solar power?
Kowalski up on the science desk can brief you on that.
Sure. A lot of people are working on solar energy. It's exciting stuff. They figure that if we combine conservation, coal, and uranium now, we'll be able to meet our needs until we develop other sources of energy, like solar power. Right now, coal is giving us the time we need to develop these sources.
Kowalski. I haven't the faintest idea how you squeeze electricity out of a lump of coal.
Neither do I.
Well, that's not unusual. I keep this around for people like you, huh? Phoenicia, could you hit the lights, please?
Coal comes from a mine. It is ground into a fine powder. The powdered coal burns in a furnace and heats tubes of water. The water turns into steam. The steam spins a turbine, and the turbine turns a generator. Spinning magnets in the generator create an electric current.
Not bad, Kowalski. I'm beginning to see how it works.
But isn't coal clumsy to handle?
Yeah, and let's face it is dirty.
Nah. The trick is using it without messing up the atmosphere and without busting the bank.
And keeping the lights burning.
And do we burn the lights? Look at that. I wonder how many of those really have to be on. How many air conditioners are going full blast with the doors open?
So then what we're really talking about is conservation.
Absolutely. But that's only part of the story. By the time I'm a grandfather, we'll need twice the electricity we have today. You can imagine the chaos there'd be if there wasn't enough power when people wanted it.
So, Kowalski, why don't you do the story?
That's a good question, Eddie. I think you and Phoenicia can bring a fresh approach to this story. Look, here's a list of my best contacts. I think you should see Dr. Jane Pierce first, because she is an energy researcher who really knows how to make this stuff understandable.
That coal even burns dirty, Dr. Pierce.
No, it burns a lot cleaner in a well-run power plant. Although no matter what you do, there's always something left to clean up. That's why industry prefers burning oil or gas. But there are higher priorities for oil and gas now. We're spending billions of dollars to develop cheaper ways to burn coal and burn it cleaner.
So, that's what's in coal smoke, huh?
It's the stuff that's left after the burning that causes the problem. For instance, sulfur compounds. They can foul up the air pretty bad. And nitrous oxide, they can cause smog. And ash particles. They're so tiny, you could put about 20,000 of these particles end to end, and they'd only be an inch long.
That's a nasty little trio.
So you gotta take that stuff out of the smoke if you want to burn coal, right?
Right. And we're doing everything we can, before it burns, while it's burning, and after it's burned.
What do you mean before burning? What do you do, wash it?
Well, yes, that helps, but what I mean is by transforming it into a cleaner fuel, like this. Making it into a gas. Or we can convert dirty burning coal into a clean liquid fuel, very similar to what we get from petroleum.
It's like putting the coal through a refinery, isn't it?
Very close to it, Phoenicia. And we are also using a refining process that extracts ash and pollutants from the coal and leaves a clean, solid burning fuel.
Oh, it's kind of like a perfect coal. Burns clean as a whistle, and there's no ash or smoke left behind.
That's the whole idea with all the clean fuels made from coal. The big problem is how to keep the price down.
Now, this will save us a lot of time, Phoenicia.
You finish up with Dr. Pierce, and I'll get started visiting the labs and pilot plant.
I didn't realize how massive this coal research project is. You know, we'd never get done in time for deadline without splitting up.
Well, I gotta run. Okay. I'll call you tomorrow night, okay?
All right. Good luck.
You really need all this piping and stuff to turn coal into gas? I saw an experiment the other day, and they just heated the coal. It was really simple.
It is, if you don't care how much you pollute the air around you or how much it costs. Of course, we do care. Now, this plant represents the most advanced technology we know, but neither of these plants can make gas as inexpensive as just burning ordinary coal. For instance, if it cost $1 for coal to make a certain amount of electricity, it would cost you $1.50 to make the same amount of electricity from synthetic gas.
I wish I could photograph how much all this stuff costs.
For what it means to people who need electric power.
Yeah.
Fluidized bed combustion.
Well, come on, Dr. Pierce. No one will understand that.
Oh, it's just a different way to burn coal with limestone so that the sulfur in the coal is absorbed in the ash. So it doesn't go up stack.
So that's how you clean coal while burning it. Clean fuels from coal, clean methods of burning. Okay, so that leaves...
The third, and so far the only method commercially available, cleaning up the particles and gases after the coal is burned.
There are lots of ways to do that, too, right?
Right. Different ways to remove different dirt. We can take out the tiny particles with an electronic device. Watch what happens when I turn on the power. The static electricity on the plate attracts and holds the particles. Another way we clean up smoke from coal burning is to filter it through cloth bags that trap the particles, like this.
Aren't there other things to clean out besides ash particles?
You've really picked up the technical side of this story, Eddie. You're right. We've got to remove unwanted gases like sulfur dioxide.
Oh, it's like giving the smoke a shower.
We scrub out those pollutants with water and chemicals.
Would have gone up those stacks and into the air if you didn't scrub it out.
No, not all of it. Some of it's waste limestone that we put in the water to scrub out pollutants.
Oh, what are you going to do with all this stuff?
Well, that's the question we're working on right now. We're developing ways to treat it to make it into things useful, such as building materials, road beds, and even growing trees on it.
Makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does us no good to clean up the air if we're going to pollute our land and our water with this kind of waste.
Well, at least we do have ways of making electricity out of coal and still have clean air to breathe. So why spend so much on research?
Because most of these advanced ideas are still in the development stage. It would be pretty silly to build a billion-dollar generating plant based on technology we can't even keep running every day in a laboratory.
Yeah, I guess so. Those are some pretty terrific experiments. I hope I can remember them all.
There's another thing, too, you should keep in mind.
Oh, what's that?
None of this is going to come cheap.
Maybe I should take some notes?
Oh, you can remember this. Anytime you complicate a simple process, like burning coal in a boiler, you make it more expensive. It's just like the smog control devices on your car. They reduce the miles you get per gallon of gas. The cleanup methods you add to a power plant reduce the kilowatts you get per ton of coal.
Ah, so some of the energy that we produce we're using just to clean up the waste that we make.
Right.
Very good.
Hi, Benicia. It's good to see you
Oh,
again.
it's good to be back.
How was it?
It was great. Got
Good.
some beautiful stuff to show you guys.
Well,
good.
let's get to the plan.
All right,
go.
come on.
This plant has it all together. The latest equipment, the best coal, trained personnel, and as new ideas are proved out in the laboratory, we're phasing them into the new units that are still in construction.
I'm a little confused. If this plant is so good, why don't you just leave it alone? Those stacks look pretty clean to me.
Oh, they are very clean. But what's clean today may not be clean enough a few years from now.
Would you mind running that by one more time?
Well, as we burn more and more coal to produce electricity, we also make more exhaust gases.
Ah, so you have to burn the coal cleaner just to keep the total amount of pollution the same.
Right.
and towers and tons of coal. There's something missing.
Oh, if we just had a hero or a villain. It'd really be easy if we could just find someone to blame the energy troubles on. Greedy oil people, backwards utilities. Well, these people, they're really trying to solve this thing. I mean, they really care.
That's it, Eddie. People.
Hmm?
We've got to focus more on people doing the research. How electricity research affects all people.
Right. Like if you flip the switch and the lights wouldn't go on because they couldn't burn coal.
Sure, or your coffee didn't brew.
Or if it cost you $5 to make your morning toast because the pollution controls were so expensive.
We can use some of my people pictures in some of your snappy captions.
All right.
Huh?
Let's try this. Okay. How about tomorrow's America? We'll need more electricity. Electricity to power our jobs, to drive our vehicles, and to light our houses, and to run our businesses.
Oh, great.
Okay, let's see. Coal is one foundation of our future electric supply because we have enough of it to last more than a century.
I like it.
Research is now aimed at finding better ways to mine coal, to move it, to clean it, and to,
What's it about?
well, the nation is committed to using more coal to meet the demands for the growing need for power. And the researchers are committed to meeting that need at a price we can afford and without harming the environment.
Not bad for an ex-sports writer and a former fashion photographer. I think I'm going to keep you on this story. I like the way you illustrated how everybody's life is affected by electricity and what we pay. Come on, I'm going to take you to dinner.
Hey, Henry. Got something.
Oh, right. To quote that famous writer, Mr. Edwin Phillips, having enough energy tomorrow starts with saving what we have today.
Company 10, engines 41, 111, respond. Rockwell Apartments, 3rd Street, Shinston, reported structure fire. Company 10, engines 41, 111 have been alerted, 1038.
Rockwell Apartments, ready to ball.
Hold on, okay.
majority of the men in our fire department are coal miners. It's a pet peeve of mine and of majority of the coal miners, whether they're continuous miner operators, shuttle car operators, roof bolters, that every time you turn on a television or radio and see or hear an interview with a coal miner, he's always in a bar or in a courthouse step, some sort of demonstration. And that just doesn't depict the image of the coal miner as he actually is. He's not that type of guy.
Well, we've always had the reputation of being a dumb coal miner. Every time I hear it, it kind of rubs my fur.
No miner likes to be put down. He's proud of who he is and what he is. These people, in my opinion, don't know what they're talking about. They haven't met the new coal miner today.
This is a good view of a coal miner. This is what coal miners do. They're interested in community action. They go to churches. They belong to civic groups, civic organizations. Of course, I realize that doesn't make such a good news story.
A miner today is very similar to just any other individual. A miner today wants what everyone else wants. We want new homes. We want new cars. We want education for our children. We want what all other Americans want. We simply want what might be the American dream of everyone.
Going back home now, home you go, we sang. Four ladies chained across that ring, turn around with a pretty little thing.
We just want a place in America, same as anybody else. We're no different than any other group of people.
Let's see them skirts swirl, roll away half sashing.
What gets me is people goes away from these mountains, but they always wind up right back here. So evidently it's not so good away from here.
Circle to the left.
I don't know why they think coal miners don't have nice homes. I guess they think they're dirty from the time they go into the mines until they die. I don't know, but we've worked for what we have. I just think it's time that coal miners were seen in the light that they should be seen, as human beings, as people who go to work, who have families, who have interests. This is our roots. This is home. Cities aren't for us.
We pray that you bless each and every one of us. And Father, we pray that you bless this food that we're about to eat. Amen. Patty's been cooking this since early this morning, so let's eat it. Everybody eat up. I've come from a long line of coal miners, from all the way back to my great-grandfathers, both of them. And I didn't think I would go in the coal mine. And I've heard all my life about how hard it was for a man to make a living. It really stuck to me to know that somebody spent that much time of their life feeding a family.
And my dad said, since how we were a coal mining family, that's what we were emphasized, coal mining. So I went into the coal industry and ended up working where my father worked.
In Depression days, miners sometimes just went in the mines with just water in his bucket, because I remember lots of times my dad didn't have anything in the bucket. And when you come home, you wouldn't have a meal like this. It was really rough.
Patty, are these the potatoes you grew in the garden? Yeah, the corn is too.
My father told us how to get bread on the table and to be the right kind of man so that he wouldn't have these problems. So I've heard it all my life, to go into coal fields and make the best of it I could. That there was a great life if a man was a man and could handle the work and stand the hours to make the money to feed his family.
When my father was in the coal mines, he was well respected, he was a hard worker, he was a go-getter, and then that's exactly what I did. I fell right into his footsteps.
Mary and Jackie Joe has really been an experience through his family.
They're all really close, and I enjoy having them here. And when we get together, it's a get-together, no doubt about it. We really enjoy ourselves. We have a real strong bond. There's nothing that we couldn't talk to each other about. I can't say that I enjoy thinking about the risks and the dangers that are involved. I was a little bit nervous when we were first married. You know, when you're first married, you don't want anything to mess that up. My husband has a lot of common sense, and I trust him. And he brings home stories telling me about the safety that they have now and the ways that they do safeguard something happening and stuff. So it's something you have to adjust to. I've adjusted to it.
Come on, Krista. Come on, sweetheart. Take your bottle. Today's miner is a completely different type of man from what it was 25, 30 years ago, from what I've got from my background, my relatives, my grandfathers, my father. Back in the old days, a man, all he had was his work. Today, a miner has his education, his family, and everything else that goes along with being a man. I think it's a great life and a great tradition for myself to be in the coal fields and to know that my family had spent their life in the coal field, and I'm going to spend mine there, too.
All right, I'll have to have 3 of you guys riding in the Jeeps down there. The rest of you guys get in here.
First thing, when you go in a mine, you make sure you have all your men with you, count your men. You ride a man trip, then you head for the working section. Traveling in a coal mine is just like traveling on interstate or on one of these big 4-leaf clovers. You have to know which switch to take to get to where. Some mines, like our mine is well lit up. When you pass a certain switch, it tells you where you're at. And it's just like looking to a highway. You know exactly what road you're going to take and everything else. It's just like getting out in your car and going to town. 8 men on a section, 2 miner men, 2 buggy men, 2 boulder men, and 2 utility men. And we mine the coal. We've got a couple new men up here. We want to keep our eyes on these ribs up here. We had a lot of fluffing in the other 2 headings. We want to make sure we watch those. Same with the roof. And I want to read you a couple rules here on this roof and rib control plan. There are roof and rib plans made up by the company, by the state laws, federal laws. You have to read these to the men, make sure men understand your roof control plan, and every man has a responsibility that is different from another man's. Going on the miner. Brad, fireboss, the right side of the section. You got an operator on a miner. His job is different from the shuttle car operator. So each man has a different safety precaution that he has to watch himself, and nobody else can watch it for him. Everything all right? Help the guys on the miner, get the miner set up. We're going to be mining right here. Finish that scrap guy. Hey, Goldie, when you get it set up, we'll move it out of there, okay? I'll get these guys here to give me a hand on that. I went into the coal industry and ended up working where my father worked and found out how well he was thought of. And as myself, when I went in, I had a competition right there because I had to be as good as my father did or I was nobody. And I ended up doing as good as my father, and I hope continue to do as good as my father did. Because there's always somebody around that said that your dad would do a better job than that, and I had to come forward and do as good as he did. "20 years ago, my father, when he mined coal, they used a cutting machine, and they cut and shot on solid. The continuous miner, it wasn't in operation when he was working. He's not seen this. It's all new equipment with hydraulics, electricity. All a man has to do is sit in the seat and push buttons and pull levers. He still doesn't understand when I talk to him about mining coal with continuous miner. He can't believe that a coal is loaded as fast as it is, as much as it is. On a running section, 20 years ago, it took 25 to 30 men. Today on a section, it takes 6 or 7 men to run a section. So right there you can see it was a lot slower and a lot harder work. And now today all you have to do is run in a place and clean it up in a half hour, 45 minutes, and go to another place, and the bolt machine comes in and bolts. This has all been mined out right here. We're moving the section this way. See, this is solid coal right here. These are blocks of coal. Back in the old days, you had men that mined the coal themselves with pick and shovel. And this, I think, is what everybody in the country still believes, that it's still being done by pick and shovel. Today, everything is done by modern machinery. Everything is done by levers and hydraulics, and a man's not really breaking his back and killing himself in the coal mines. And I believe that's exactly why 3/4 of the young men in the coal field countries want to go into the coal mines. In this region, that's all you hear about is coal mining. And I think if a man, he's been in a coal mine, his dad's been in a coal mine, his grandfather was in a coal mine, his son has initiative to go in a coal mine. It's just something that's, it's just a way of life. Of course, I could have been somebody that I'm not. I could have been a lawyer, doctor, whatever. But I wanted to be a coal miner.
And it tickled me to death when he made foreman. When Jackie Joe became a foreman, I always did tell him he was going to follow in my footsteps. And I didn't quite make it. I had a stroke the day before they was going to put me on salary.
You gonna come back with us next time we go?
Not up here.
What's the matter?
The sun will have to be out.
Well, you are getting cold, aren't you? My father and I are closer right now than we were before he had his stroke. You go through a stage where you don't need your parents. You think you don't need them, you can do without them. And about that time is when my father had his illness. Is that Paul okay? And now I see how important my father is to me and how important he could have been to me back then if I'd have paid attention to him and listened to him and treated him as a father instead of like somebody that can't get along. So now we take him with us fishing, we take him with us hunting, we take him anywhere that any other man would go, and we have a real close relationship. There was always a closeness in the family where there wasn't so much as telling each other you loved each other. There was a way of going about helping one another. But now that I look at my father and our ages and everything, then I wish I had told him more that I loved him. The very first rainbow ever to be seen. As far as having what we've got is from the coal fields. I've got this from being a coal miner. They say there's poverty in the coal fields, but there's not. And the people make the poverty themselves. If a man takes care of what he's got, he doesn't have any poverty. It's just a matter of being able to take care of what you do make. I couldn't have it no other way. Okay. You ready for bed now?
I think the classification that TV shows and movies have given the coal miners' wives is rather depressing. The wives of miners are individuals. They have their own interests. Some have their own jobs, their own careers and activities. And I think it's very unfair to put across this rugged idea of what a miner's wife is.
So the people Sunday in the back can hear you.
I feel my job is here with the family, and I feel that I am special for my husband, and I want to be here when he needs me. I'm a helpmate for him. I'm very proud of him. He's worked hard, and I'm sure when his children get old enough to understand his job, I'm sure then that they'll still be proud to say, I'm proud of my daddy, the coal miner.
There is a great future in the coal industry because, let's face it, that's what our energy is all about.
Because as we know today, the coal mines is what's making the world move right now.
Mining has a lot more skills to it than people realize because it's not everybody can just walk in there and get on a piece of equipment and run it.
Majority of the men today in the coal mines have got a high school education. Some of them got some college.
Everybody can't be president. You've got to have laborers to have industry, and that's my chosen profession.
It's just a fascinating industry. You have to go into the coal mines to realize how different it is from anything else.
Sure, it's dirty, but it's getting more modern every day and every day.
And it just seemed like that's all I ever wanted to do. I went to the service, come home from the service, and begged like hell to get in the mine. I like it. I'd never leave it.
Our unit, what I work on, I consider it a family.
I would say the average coal miner horseplays around. It's just a common thing among a bunch of men, you know. If you work together daily, and if you just went to work and just done your job and went home, it'd get awful boring.
Well, I think for the most part, a majority of the miners, they seem to go at things with a feeling of ease. Perhaps due to the danger factor, it may be sort of an expression of, you know, why rush? Why not stop, you know, to smell the roses or something?
Well, I think everybody calls everybody hey buddy in the mine because they know that that's what they really mean. They mean that a buddy is looking out for them. I first went in the mine and I thought, where in the hell am I? It's dark, there's no windows. I was very scared. Then you start working with different people in the mine and you find out that mining's pretty safe. It's as safe as you make it and everybody else looks out for one another. So everybody knows that when they go in there, if they skimp on safety and don't do their job, not only does it affect them, but it affects their brothers that are in the mine with them and their sisters. So everybody sort of watches out for the other guy.
I've been on the mine rescue team for 3 or 4 years now. The reason I joined it was because I've got family that works in the coal mines, and I always thought one of these days it might be my brother that I might have to go after, or uncle mine.
Over into the track.
My brother's on the mine rescue team too, so I know if something would happen to me, he'd be willing to come and try to get me.
Here on the track heading, if you see anything bad top or anything like that, make sure you mark it on your map.
If anybody feels sick, nausea, let us know and we'll come back, okay?
We practice once a month on a training session for the mine rescue. We train in rock dust and smoke to get used to working in dust and foggy and cloudy areas. So if we actually go to an actual fire, we'll be used to the dust and smoke and cloudiness.
All of you come here and gather around right here. I want to show you something. Now the groundhog that was in this hole is probably still in here asleep. Now they hibernate for the winter. The female will have their babies while they're hibernating. When they wake up in the spring, they've already had their young. What she'll do is she'll come out and she'll take tufts of grass, you know, and she'll carry it in her mouth. She'll take it into the hole, and she'll get down in the hole, and she'll build herself a nest. When she gets this cavity, she'll take this grass, and there'll be, you know, a lot of it, great amounts of it. And it'll just be like a big nest there of this grass. And that helps her, that helps to keep her warm. And like I say, she digs her tunnel in, and it's something like coal mining. She goes in under the ground and veers off in different directions. Like the coal mine. The coal mine goes in one main heading, they call it. Then they'll veer off one side, off another, and go in different directions to get the coal in all the areas. She does the same thing. She goes off in one direction and maybe makes a small cavity where she can get in.
The use of explosives in the mining industry has always been a potentially hazardous business.
Hey, Jay, let's go ahead and drill that next hole out. Well, you better check it. Check that boat light. Be sure that hole's clear. Nah, forget it. Go ahead and drill it out.
The first priority of the mining industry must always be the health and safety of the miners. Every effort should be made to avoid blasting accidents.
Charlie, what happened? Well, best we can understand, Keith was standing right here shoveling out for his snake hole. David had just got through drilling that hole there, and he moved up to this one here. And when Keith evidently raised up, it blowed him over, and his head was laying right there, and his feet were laying up here. You know, Charlie, miners have been told time and time again not to drill in bootlegs. Well, there's one guy that won't drill in anymore.
The fact is, blasting materials today are safer and more controllable than ever before. Why should needless accidents continue to occur?
Gentlemen, we're gathering here in an attempt to gather the facts.
In examining blasting accidents, the answer seems clear. The vast majority are caused by violations of one or more explosive safety regulations.
There are some drawings that were sketched at the scene of the accident.
Although records show that violations and accidents occur in transportation and storage, it is in the use of explosives that most fatalities and injuries occur. Underground mining in metal and non-metal operations covers a wide variety of ore and geological conditions, shot sizes and drilling angles. For this reason, blast plans are established and should be followed as closely as possible. While each operation is responsible for establishing its own specific procedures, there are some basic safety procedures that should always be followed when blasting. These procedures fall into 4 categories: drilling, loading, detonation, and post-blast examination. Let's look at each step to see how accidents can be prevented. Before drilling actually begins, loose material should be barred down. Regulations state that the area must be inspected for hazards. One of the hazards could be undetonated explosives. The area should be thoroughly examined for evidence of misfires. If undetonated explosives or detonators are discovered, they should be reported to the proper supervisor and should be disposed of before other work is performed in the area. In addition to visual observations, blasting galvanometers should be used to test for continuity and resistance on any electric blasting cap wires that are found. Only when you are convinced that the area is free from misfires and other hazards should drilling begin. Drilling pattern calculations can be quite complex. They include various elements that will assure a good blast with minimum hazard. The number, depth, spacing, and angle of the boreholes must be considered, as well as the amount and type of explosives and detonators. As each hole is completed, it should be checked for obstructions before moving on to the next. Often, the only inspection tool a driller has is the drill itself. With experience, the driller develops a feel for the drill steel as he removes it. When all holes appear to be properly drilled and in good shape, the next step may begin. The choice of explosives and detonators, like the blast plan, is a decision based on a number of variables. Technology is providing safer, more controllable blasting products, but these new products, like older ones, must be handled properly to ensure safety. When transporting explosives, only the amount required for a particular blast should be brought to the site. If electric blasting caps are used, all electrically operated equipment within 50 feet of boreholes containing electric blasting caps should be de-energized. Stray current tests should be conducted. The maximum tolerable stray current is 0.05 amps through a 1 ohm resistor. Loading should begin as close as possible to blasting time. A tamping pole made of non-sparking material is used to test for obstructions. The hole punch, too, should be made of non-sparking material. The primer should always be prepared immediately prior to loading it into the drill hole. The electric blasting cap should be inserted deep within the cartridge to help in preventing it from being accidentally pulled out. For further protection, the cap lead should be firmly tied around the cartridge. To minimize the possibility of misfires, the primer cartridge should be loaded with the cap pointing toward the collar. The primer should never be tamped directly, but should have one or more cartridges between it and the tamping pole to act as a cushion. Usually, 2 or 3 light blows are sufficient to produce good compaction. Sometimes a steady push is all that's needed. With experience, the loader will develop the feel for proper tamping. Once charging operations have been completed, all unused explosives and detonators should be removed to a safe location. Special precautions should be taken in mines employing pneumatic loading. Powder being blown through the hose can cause a buildup of an electrostatic charge, which can cause initiation of both electrical and non-electrical detonators. It is essential, therefore, to dissipate this buildup of static electricity. The hose must be semiconductive, and proper grounding of equipment is extremely important. Lightning can detonate electric blasting caps below the ground as well as above, for distances up to several miles. If an electrical storm is detected while blasting, electrical charging shall be suspended in shaft sinking, tunneling, and other operations.
Telephone call for Larry. Hello, Larry.
Yeah, Harry.
An electrical storm will hit here in about 10 minutes. Get your blasters out of the face area.
Bad lightning storm will be here in about 10 minutes. I'll tell them.
All personnel shall be withdrawn to a safe location within the mine.
One more. just got a call from upstairs that there's a bad storm coming, so we better shut this stuff up if you're not, ready. We'll get out of here for a while. Good enough. Take it away, son.
The use of electric blasting caps requires that resistance and continuity tests must be made. Accident data show that a variety of instruments have been used to conduct these tests. Some have had the sufficient current to set off the charge. Only approved blasting galvanometers or instruments designed for testing electric blasting caps should be used to test blasting circuits and components. Of course, blasting lines must be kept shunted, except when being tested, until immediately before blasting. Loading and testing according to approved procedures is the best way to assure a proper blast and the elimination of misfires and their hazards.
Oh, sir, Charlie? Yeah, I reckon I got all wired anymore.
We have reached the most critical step in the entire blasting process, detonation. Explosives should always be handled by experienced miners or others under their direct supervision. It is especially important in this stage that only authorized individuals be involved.
Okay, what do you say we do this in about 5 minutes, right? Boy, you go up there and walk that corner, Charlie and I'll go down here and get ready and set her off, okay?
Having one person in charge eliminates communication problems that can cause confusion and accidents. Regulations require that the blast area be barricaded, posted, flagged, or guarded against unauthorized entry. Pre-arranged timetables and signals must be completely understood. This is especially important in underground mining, where visibility is limited. All persons must be cleared and removed from areas endangered by the blast, and it is the guard's responsibility to allow no one to enter the blast area.
Setting off a blast up here, you have to hold up a minute.
Consideration must be given to toxic fumes as well as the concussion and fly rock when establishing safe distances. Once the prearranged blasting time has been reached, ample warning must be given.
Fire the hole! Fire the hole! Fire the hole!
Immediately after a blast, smoke, dust, and toxic fumes fill the site, creating a hazardous condition. Under no circumstances should anyone be allowed to re-enter the area until it has cleared. After the smoke and fumes have cleared and the roof has been inspected, faces and muck piles should be thoroughly examined for undetonated explosives. Look for powder, wires, or other evidence of misfires. Electric blasting cap leg wires should be tested with a blasting galvanometer. Evidence of misfire should be reported to the proper supervisor, and any undetonated explosives disposed of before other work is performed in the area. It must be understood that blasting is an art.
Okay, hold it.
An art that takes years of experience to master. It is not uncommon to encounter unusual situations that are not covered by established procedures.
Oh, we got a blocked hole here, Bill.
If it should happen to you, don't let your actions exceed your knowledge. When lives are at stake, you can't afford to count on guesses. If you have a question,
what are we going to do about that, Clark?
Ask for help.
We could load it on out. Well, we could.
The federal regulations written by the Mine Safety and Health Administration are not suggestions. They're the law. Their sole purpose is to protect you. The steps outlined follow federal explosive safety regulations and apply to all underground mine blasting. But each mine operation has its own unique conditions, which may necessitate additional safety rules. These, as well as the federal regulations, are designed for your benefit, to keep you and your fellow miners from being involved in accidents. Remember, detonators should be securely embedded and properly directed within the cartridge. Proper placement of the primer in the bore hole and careful handling of the blasting leads will also reduce the number of misfires. It is especially important to remember that injuries and deaths can be greatly reduced by properly clearing, posting, and guarding all blast sites and by using clearly defined communications.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!
And ample warning signals. If every miner complied with these regulations, the great majority of blasting-related accidents could be avoided.